Steve.
And I'm Malika, and you're watching BMA Violet Hour, an online program initiative connecting audience, artists, and community through interactive experiences. And right now, we are here at Baltimore Museum of Art's Outpost site, BMA Lexington Market.
For those of you who don't know, since June 2019, the BMA has had a 250 square foot space inside of Lexington Market as a way to bring art outside of our museum walls and further align with our mission. Here you are able to attend a variety of free workshops, play chess, make art, read from our library, or simply just hang out. Due to the state of the world, we've been unable to operate in our former capacity since March 2020 and the COVID-19 pandemic, but this just makes us more excited for today's Violet Hour program.
So Out of the Blocks is a storytelling initiative composed of interviews by Henkin and accompanying photos and original soundtrack by Wendel that explores stories of a community, one city block at a time. In this segment, you are hearing from various voices of vendors, management, market goers, and developers who collectively shape what Lexington has been and what it will become in lieu of reconstruction in a vastly changing world.
We'll begin this program with a selection of stories from the Lexington Market Out of the Blocks episode. The complete audio and photos can be found on WYPR.com. We will then follow with a pre-recorded Zoom conversation with individuals from the episode, and then we'll move to a live Q&A with Henkin, Wendel Patrick, and T-Bolt Mannequin of Seawall Development. As the segment is running, we'll be keeping track of your questions, so please be sure to write them in the comments below.
Thank you so much for tuning in, and without further delay, we present our Violet Hour segment, Out of the Blocks, Lexington Market.
Kiwi, apple, orange, grapefruit, grape, honeydew, cantaloupe, watermelon, raspberry, blueberry, papaya, lemon.
We specialize in fresh fruit smoothie and also green smoothies.
Kale, carrot, celery, broccoli, cucumber, baby spinach, tomato, beet.
My name is Steve Hyan. My place called Garden Produce.
And you work with your wife?
Yes, sir, I do. She's the best person on earth.
My name is Hannah Hayan. I'm married 38 years. Vegetable smoothie or fruit smoothie? What is it?
They are the best. Everything they put in it is fresh, and it's to your liking.
You got your drink ready for you right there?
Oh, yes. They're on point, and the customer service is awesome.
Actually, I came into market about 10 years ago.
6 wings and fries, 4 wings and fries, and 4 drumsticks with bread. $22.50.
Thank you. Have a good day.
My name is Lean.
India.
Lexington Market at Super Fried Chicken.
Ketchup and hot sauce, salt and pepper on the wings.
What are the most popular sellers? What do people come and order the most often?
Well, our livers and gizzards. Breastbones, backs, necks, chicken wings, thighs, drumsticks, and barbecue chicken.
That my boss make the sauce special, and it's very, very good.
Will that be all, sweetie?
Yes, ma'am.
We have a crazy relationship, but we love each other like sisters. We love each other. You know, like I said, she comes to my house, I do her hair. You know, we hang out together and party. But we got a little hate thing going on, too. We do a lot of fussing, you know, like enemies. Yes, we fuss a lot, but we still good friends through it all. We get back, you know.
Yeah, 6 wings and then a 4. So you came here in 2000 and you say you didn't know English?
No English, zero English, just probably a couple numbers, and that's it.
And within 2 years, you were the owner of this business?
Yes, in 2 years. My name is Alvarado, and this is our Royal Deli East.
We 2 corned beef sandwiches, strawberry Swiss, lettuce, tomato, mayonnaise, and a little bit of mustard.
We make a sandwich like turkey club, chicken salad, tuna salad, seafood salad, shrimp, and the lunch meat sandwich. We sell many every day. Yes, it's
lettuce, tomato, mayonnaise, both of them.
The owner, he retired, and he said, I want to buy this store, and I have a choice for buy, and I'm here for 19 years. I like it here. This is my second home. I love here.
This is Mina Suvardas, owner of the Marquis Mercury, and I'm here for 45 years. This is my beautiful wife,
Fanny Suvardas.
We run the place, and we live together 24/7.
How is that?
Yes, you have to be nice to each other. And keep the little mouth a little bit slow. Don't raise your voice or fighting them.
He do his own job, I do my own job. That's how you work out. He got the money, I got the rest.
We are from the very same village, from island of Carpathos. So we come together and we stay together from 1973. We get married.
We spend almost a half our life here. We got feelings for the place. That's why we stay here so long. We have a beautiful customers, and we have fun.
The beautiful thing about being in a market is that you get to meet everybody from the trash man to the president, I like to say, and you get to be human in a way that you never thought that you would be human before. Being around these people make you appreciate life. It makes you want to motivate them, to encourage them to be better for themselves, better for their families, and just work harder at being a great human being. And just because they're on drugs or they're alcoholic doesn't mean that they're a bad person. And when you really get to talk to them, you can see why. They're beautiful people. Okay, so I'm Officer Moody. I work right here at Lexington Market, and I've been here for 7 years. A day of work is a task. Some days is a good day, some days is a trying day, but your duties are to be on patrol, be visual, to assist with the customers, be very customer friendly, and make sure, we don't have any problems during the day.
Lexington Market, done right, done in an incredibly inclusive way, has the opportunity to prove that a single building can unite our city at one of its most divided times. I'm Thibaut Mannequin, and I work with Seawall that has been asked to help bring Lexington back to life.
Talk to me about raised eyebrows, skepticism, people who are wondering if this can happen and what it'll end up looking like.
Yeah, the skepticism is right. Our industry is famous for coming into a neighborhood and changing things so drastically that it looks nothing like what it originally did. Our response to that is that this isn't our project. We really are honored to have been selected to be on the team. This project belongs to all of Baltimore City.
I recently did a shirt. Actually, not yesterday. I did a rest in peace shirt of somebody wearing a rest in peace shirt of their friend that they made. I'm like, I recognize this guy, and I just made a rest in peace shirt for him sometime in November of this past November, and now he's wearing a shirt, and that picture is a shirt that I made here, and now he's on a shirt that someone else is wearing. And that's I've seen that way too often. Way too often. I don't know. It's crazy.
When it's your time to go, would you want someone to make a RIP shirt for you?
Yeah, I would definitely want to, but I'd prefer a birthday shirt first while I'm still alive.
I'm originally from New Jersey, Elizabeth, New Jersey. I met my wife about 14 years ago, which is the daughter, and we fell in love, and we got married, and I moved here, which I liked. I like it very much.
Your father-in-law just told me he's offered to pass the business along to you at some point, and that I guess that's something for you to ponder, huh?
I mean, yeah, we'll already talk about it. When they retire, I'm going to take over.
It must be a good feeling to have the trust of your in-laws like that.
Of course, yeah, that's why I love them. I mean, they go out of their way to do anything for me, for my wife, for the granddaughters, for anybody that they know. They help anybody that needs help. They're good people.
Clean cut. My name is Joshua Cho. I'm running the fish business at the Lexington Market, harbor fish.
You have extremely fast hands. Your hands move like lightning with that fillet knife. You've done this many years, huh?
Yeah. This year is going to be my 31 years.
Tell me the story of how you ended up in this business.
Family business. Yeah, I haven't much choice. Yeah, we call that the first generation of the immigrant. It depends on who pick you up from the airport.
So the relative who picked you up from the airport worked at a fish spot.
Fish spot, yeah.
And that was 31 years ago.
Yeah.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Good to have you along on this week's installment of the BMA's Violet Hour here on Facebook Live. I want to say thanks, of course, to the BMA and especially to Dave Issa and Malika Clements who organized this whole event that we're all part of right now. My name is Henkin, and my partner Wendel Patrick and I are the co-producers of the WYPR documentary series Out of the Blocks, where we share the story of Baltimore one block at a time. And the excerpts you just heard are from our time at Baltimore's world famous Lexington Market. Actually, from the last episodes we were able to record, out and about in the real world, in the before times, I guess you could call it, before stay-at-home orders and masks, and social distancing, and everything else that's come along with the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot has obviously changed in the market since then, but a lot was about to change there anyway, and we're going to talk about that now in the next half hour or so. Here's how this is going to work. I'm going to introduce you to this excellent panel of folks who are on the screen with me right now. They were all actually featured on the Lexington Market episodes of Out of the Blocks back in March. You just heard some of their voices. We're going to talk together for about 30 minutes or so about the history and the future of the market. And then we're going to turn it over to you to join the conversation with your own thoughts, your own questions, your own stories that you have about the market and what it means to you. So I look forward to hearing from you, viewers. But first, I'm really excited to introduce this panel that we've got online with us now. Let me start by asking each of you to take a quick minute, say hi, say who you are, and say a few words about your relationship to Lexington Market. And Joshua Cho, let me start with you.
Hi. Good morning, everyone. My name is Joshua Cho. I'm running for the fish business at the Lexington Market over 30 years. Nice meeting you guys.
Good to have you online with us, Joshua. Officer Moody is with us as well. Hi, Officer Moody. Say hi and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Hello, my name is LaVon Moody. I'm an officer at Lexington Market Security, and I've been doing security for about 7 years.
We have an artisan with us who has a long history at the market. Lynette Lambert-Tarrant, let me have you say hi.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lynette Tarrant, and I've been a part of the Lexington Market community for a really long time.
I should compliment you, Lynette, on your earrings. You want to say a few words about your earrings? I'll give you a chance for a plug.
Yeah, I design leather and suede jewelry, and I've done quite a few events in Lexington Market. I was also a vendor at Lexington Market, and played a really big part in my life.
We'll hear more about that and a little bit more about sort of the chapter of history that involves the arcade, which is now officially history. So stand by for that, Lynette. Let me continue with introductions. I want to introduce Dr. Nicole King, Professor of American Studies at Umbc. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, nice to be here. Nice to see everyone. So yeah, I study place, power, economic, and development. And I also live about 3 blocks north of Lexington Market on Utah Street. So it's kind of a part of my community, and I have taught courses at the market. So I'm both a student of it and a lover of it as a space in the city. Glad to be here.
Good to have you with us. Robert Thomas, let me turn to you. Robert Thomas, CEO of Lexington Market.
That would be me. I've been with the Market Corporation and corporations of the public markets for a total of about 23 years at this point. And most of that time has been with Lexington Market, Inc. And so as an assistant general manager, and so the last 6 years I've been as executive director. So it's a wild ride, but never a dull moment any day.
Good to have you with us, Robert. And finally, let me introduce Thibaut Mannequin, head of Seawall Development. Say hi, Thibaut.
Yeah, hey, Aaron. Thanks for coordinating all of this. I'm Thibaut, and I am with Seawall, and we were selected, geez, Robert, a couple years ago now. Time's been flying by. after an RFP process to help breathe a new life back into Lexington Market. And it's been an amazing 2 years, full of tons of learning and
Glad to have you with us, Thibaut. Let me just first put this question to all of you guys in your own way. And that is, how are you doing right now? So much has changed with the market and with the whole world around us since we all last met and hung out together in the same space. Josh Cho, let me start with you. How about Harbor Fish? What's become of your business? What's happening inside the market and what's not happening in there? And how are you staying afloat right now?
Unmute.
Oh, Joshua, hey, Joshua, you got to unmute yourself. There you go. Classic Zoom meeting. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yep,
yes.
I can hear you.
Yeah, it's been over 3 months almost. It's going to be 4 months. So actually, I've been to the market about several times. I don't know. It depends on the Bob. He's the boss for us. So it's gonna be, I don't know. I just fully follow his decision, and then we are supporting him whatever he got decided. So it's not my decision. So
let me just ask you, Josh, about just what it's been like for you to go from. I mean, every time I was at the market, you were always there. You were in your stall 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. Your wife was there. You had several employees. Just what are you doing to fill your time now? Are you guys, and how are you staying afloat financially?
It's got a hard time, but I mean, still, I just applied for their unemployment for a while since June, and actually, we living with just minimum expenses, and somewhat worry and also expecting, and I never had such a long time staying home like this situation, but I'm not the only one, so I hope we could get it over at this moment. Yeah, it's not that easy. Yeah, that's what I could say. Yeah.
Let me ask you, Officer Moody, I see you've got your uniform on. Are you on duty right now? What's your life like these days?
Yes, I am on duty. I'm over at Northeast Market. I have been at Lexington Market to work. And life is trying to get back to some sort of normalcy right now. But, it's not 100% there. Some anxieties are still up. But, everybody's doing the best that they can, really. They just try to get out here and hustle the best way they know how. So
your employment hasn't been negatively affected. You're still got your hours. You're still working.
Yes, sir. Fortunately, I'm blessed. Fortunately.
What's it like to walk around inside the markets now? What's happening and what's not happening in there? Some places have curbside, but most are just kind of shut down for the moment. Yeah.
Some have curbside. Some Northeast is currently open, but you have to wear a mask at all times when you're inside of the market. And of course, people want to know what's going on, when is business going to pick up, because it's slow for everybody right now. So they're just trying to do the best that they know how.
Let me move on to Lynn. Lynette, you have an interesting story in that you actually kind of parted ways with the market a little earlier before everybody else did, when the arcade area closed down.
Right.
That's where if you've been to Lexington Market, where a lot of the art vendors would set up and have their booths and operate. Talk about what's been going on with you since the arcade disappeared.
I miss Lexington Market dearly. Lexington Market to me is like a home away from home, so it make me feel a part of something, a part of the community, with having the events and, different stuff going on in there, and knowing a lot of the vendors and just hanging out and running into people you haven't seen in a long time. And it's just, I enjoy hanging out there and I miss it a lot.
Yeah, I remember when you and I recorded your interview. You had family with you too. I think your grandchild was sitting on your lap while you were interviewing. That was
Right.
really that was your home base. It seemed to me. In a really
Exactly.
wonderful way.
I missed that spot. But it's long gone. I've been down there to see the destruction, and it's gone.
Must be strange to see
It's
it
weird.
actually just not existing anymore.
Yeah, but I still look forward to the other part of the market opening back up again.
Yeah. And Tebow, when I get to you, I'll let you explain a little bit of context about how things are changing at the market. I should say part of the market has been demolished. Vendors from that part have been moved to, I guess, what we're calling the old market, and everybody's kind of in standby mode there until the new market building gets created. You can probably explain that better than me, but stand by a minute and let me go next to Dr. King. You, as you say, you're a regular shopper at the market. You live a couple blocks away. The market has been literally part of your curriculum with your students at Umbc. Talk to me about what kind of a void the closing of the market has left in your life these past couple of months.
Well, it's interesting. On Thursday, March 12th, the last meal I had was at Fadley's. I actually went with Wendel Patrick to take some photos for this project, and my husband and I had a crab cake and talked to Nancy Devine at the market. And it was one of the first places I went after being kind of quarantined. Once the arcade went down, kind of like was saying, I wanted to see it. Because it's really, and what I do is I study buildings and the history of buildings, but buildings mean nothing without people in them. And the thing that I noticed about Lexington Market now, and I'm a runner and I ran by it today, is that there's still people on Utah and Paca Street, especially Utah, around the subway. So there's still this street life around Lexington. I mostly avoid running there because I have to pull up my mask because there's so many people. And so the market is still this space. Even though when I run up the hill and I don't see the arcade, I feel like a real loss, because the arcade to me was this like really just bustling public space where people were welcomed and you didn't have to buy anything. So, I mean, I really miss the arcade, and I also feel like we all miss places that we didn't know that was our last time in that spot. You know, when I had that last crab cake, I didn't know it was going to be the last crab cake I was going to have. I mean, actually, I've gotten Fadley's is still open. I've gotten crab cakes numerous days and even some steamed crabs. So, I mean, I'm trying to patronize the market, but it really is this loss that I've kind of just been circling around and thinking about and delving into research on the kind of the history of the development of that area, which is fascinating.
Robert Thomas, let me turn to you now. You're a market administrator, so let me ask you to maybe paint a bigger picture for us about what's happening and what's not happening at the market right now. I'm sure you get a lot of questions from vendors as well as market goers. How many vendors are out of work right now? What's happening with them? What kind of information are you able to convey to them and to shoppers about what's going to happen next?
A fairly good set of questions. Before I go on, I want to mention that Anna Alvarado has also joined us from two delis that she runs in the market, Harbor City Deli and Royal Deli.
Hi, Anna.
And she has a pretty amazing story, so hopefully we'll have some time to get to that. I can tell you that what we anticipate is a modified reopening with 50 or 51, depending on the status of one of them who's thinking about it, vendors, merchants in the market, as we return to some form of operation and resume for the next 12 months or less. More or less, to get started. It's been an interesting time, obviously, and we're, as a management team, just kind of keeping our head on the swivel because there's something new every day. But then that's been the case with Lexington Market ever since I joined it. So this is a different intensity of the adventure, but it continues to morph and change and adapt. But the one thing about Lexington Market is its resiliency. So we will find out what that means and what Lexington Market's going to be when it grows up.
Okay, thanks, Robert. Hey, Anna, let me invite you into the conversation. Welcome. You're on mute right now. You got to unmute yourself because I want to have you introduce yourself. Well, I'll just say a few words. This is Ana Alvarado is has got a beautiful story. If you listen to the episode, she started as an employee and now owns the business where she first walked in the door and started working. Let me have you say hello, Ana, and just catch us up on how you're doing right now.
When I start, I enjoy my family because I never have this, the time off with my family. I enjoy the first time, 1 month, but now, we're expecting to, when we are starting to work because my daughter, she love over there and, we want to start to work again.
You operate a couple of delis, as Robert said. Talk to me about what's going on with those businesses. They're just shut down. How are you making ends meet right now? How are you paying the bills?
My husband, he is still working because he work construction, and that is more busy right now, and he take care of family right now, and we hope starting working soon. We're okay right now for my husband take care of family right now.
Good, glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Ana, glad to have you with us. Thibaut, let me turn to you and have you introduce yourself. And I guess I should say, let me have you maybe just give a thumbnail for people who aren't aware of the changes that were underfoot. There was a big groundbreaking ceremony just before we all, got sent home for COVID. Talk about what the big plan is and sort of how that plan is coming along. Has it been slowed down by coronavirus? Where do things stand with the development of the new market building?
Yeah, thank you, Aaron. Is there any way that I just shared a link? If you're able to click on that, Aaron, I think as the host, and share the screen, you can actually pull up a live camera of what the construction site looks like, and that'll be helpful for me to walk everybody through what we're looking at.
You'll see Dave popping onto Lynn's screen there. They don't trust me to host the meeting. Right. I talk on here, but they don't let me press the buttons, which is probably a good idea.
It's not that. Okay, sorry, all.
Or Dave, if you want to give me access to share screen, I'm happy to do it too.
Where is?
Classic Zoom meeting moment, everybody.
Right.
You know what? I'll just take this second while Dave is doing that to let viewers know. If you just start tuning in, if you're scrolling through your Facebook feed and just popped on here, what's happening is we've got a great meeting of the minds of folks who've got important ties to Lexington Market. I'm Aaron Henkin. Wendel, Patrick, and I did a documentary about Lexington Market. Met all these folks, interviewed them. They're in this documentary, and here we are through the BMA live with each other, talking about the past of the market, the future of the market, and we've got this is a good brain trust. Nice to have everyone here. So I don't know. I'm not seeing anything on my screen. Maybe you can paint a picture with words, Thibaut.
Yeah, I see it. I'm not sure if everybody else can see it.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just. Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So in December of 2019, we closed financing on a roughly $40 million package. And the first phase of this was to demolish the arcade building, which is the kind of strip of land that runs from the bottom right of your screen to the left in the middle there, where you see the piles of gravel. Yep. The East Market building is the building that remains operational, that will, once it fully reopens, will continue to have the activity and the vendors that have been operating in there for a long time. A few of the vendors who were in the arcade were moved over to the East Market building. As you can see, that's a really beautiful building. That's a massive entrance that was once there before they added the addition, and was just such a beautiful structure. And part of the plan as a result of the listening was to try to not tear down that building, but possibly save that as a second phase. Where the big holes being dug on the kind of left of the site there is where we're in the process of building the new Lexington Market building that we kind of spent a year and a half or two listening to communities and designing collaboratively. But even looking at this, it's wild to see the impact of the arcade building come out, that whole site kind of opened up, and the start of the construction come into life.
This is a big moment of change at Lexington Market, COVID-19 pandemic or no. At some point, we can assume that this health crisis is going to become a chapter in history. Life is going to move on. We're going to get back to business. Obviously, at Lexington Market, it's not going to be business as usual. The new market building is going to get completed. Some vendors are going to move out of the old market building and into the new one. Some will fade away. And then you've got new vendors who are going to come into the picture as well. Let me, in the time that we've got left, which is about 10 minutes, ask each of you to take a turn and answer a two-part question. Number one, what is your biggest hope for the future of the market? Number two, what is your biggest worry about the future of the market? So two-part question, and let me just go back through. And Josh, let me start with you. Your hopes, your best hopes about the new market, and your biggest concerns about the new market.
Of course. I hope the new market turn out as well. At the moment, we can't just guess. We cannot guessing because first of all, there's this pandemic. It's been we never been unknown passage, but still, I'm very positive thinking because Lexington Markets through my over 30 experience, I'm always loves and also we have so many issues coming out of at this moment, at this short period, I think, which is very good. I mean, somewhat very good progress for the future. And I hope success for the new building. And of course, there are some new merchants coming in. And also, problem is, in my point of view, the existing merchants, I think half of them, they are the age gap for the retirement. So old folks, they're gonna go out and we need the new merchants gonna be recruited, I guess. Yeah, so I'm good to go.
Thanks, Josh. Officer Moody, let me ask you, you're gonna have a new building to patrol. Are you looking forward to the changes? What are you gonna miss? What are you worried about? What are you hopeful about?
I'm looking forward to seeing life back in the market. You know, the events, the people being kinder to one another because, you know, everybody that walks into the market, they're like a part of history. Like Lynn is a part of history. I'm a part of the history of the market. So I'm looking for people to just come in and really, you know, leave out with a smile like they used to in the past. I guess my concern about it is I hope that the atmosphere changes, you know, like just some things that coincide with not necessarily in the market, but things that go around outside of the market, it'll change.
Yeah, as a security officer, you have to deal with, I guess, various criminal activity that in and around the market. And what I'm hearing you say is you're hoping that when the new market building comes, that there'll be maybe a new culture there, and or is there an expanded security force? What do you know about that?
I hope we can expand. I can't really speak on that, but I hope that, you know, they bring some people in that's, you know, willing to get along with the people and, you know, talk to everybody the same. You know, you got to talk to the trash man, to the president with respect. So hopefully we get some respectable people in there that just love working with the public like I do and so many of my other coworkers do, that we can grow and have a beautiful team.
Thanks, Officer Moody. Hey, Lynette, let me have you talk about your future with the market. What do you understand about, is there going to be a space for artisans? Is there going to be something similar to an area in the New Market, like where the arcade was, where artisans can come and show their wares and spend time and just socialize? Are you planning on bringing your earrings back to the market?
I'm hopeful. And from what I understand, there will be spaces for artisans. Because I mentioned it and I asked that question and it was a yes, but how it's going to be set up, I don't know, but hopefully it will be a space for me. I'm really, really looking forward to being in that beautiful, new, bright, alive, just space, and I miss it. And it's going to be great. The New Market is going to be great. It's going to thrive. It's going to be really nice. And I want to be there.
Do you think, what do you think is going to be the same and different about, I mean, obviously it's the people who make a place what it is. Do you think, I mean, you have very close relationships with a lot of those other artisans. You all spend lots and lots of hours together day after day. Do you think that community is scattered to the winds, or do you think it'll find its way back together?
I think it'll find some kind of way back, because that's what holds the fabric together in the market. You know, the community. You have to do community things. You have to have it where people can feel like they are part of something too.
Ana Alvarado, let me turn to you next and ask you, what's your biggest hope? What makes you most hopeful about the new market building, and what makes you most worried about what comes next?
I hope by keeping going the new Lexington Market. We hope, we got a long time there, and we hope that the new market too, and they try, it's new, everything has to change. Me too, how we work, and they make a new product or something like that. Try, are the best person with customer too. And the other thing is, no business at the moment, like now, right now is not income if we allocate the place for the new building. It's like right now, yeah, I don't want it like that. Yeah, I want to stay there, continue there.
Dr. King, let me turn to you next and put the same question to you. What is your best hope for the way life is going to be at the New Market, and what is your biggest concern about the change?
Well, I hope to see all the faces that I see on my computer screen in person at the market soon, and to see those people that I jog by every day. I really think that the market is and has historically been this truly democratic public space for Baltimore City, and it is so important. And I'm so happy that at this point, when the development's moving forward, that Seawall and the Public Market Incorporation are really listening to people on the ground, because I think that is really important. So I commend that work, and I want to see that work continue and move forward, so this can be an inclusive space that speaks to the history of the west side of downtown. And I hope that is where I'll see you guys all next. And I mean, I hope before the market's done. I'd love to know what the time table is on that. And I would just say, because of what I study, I have some fears about the larger development of the west side that surrounds Lexington Market, because it's such an important space, and it is an anchor, but it's connected to this much larger history. Sometimes fraught history of development going back to the 70s and the 80s with the big David Murdoch development that the arcade and in 82 really arose out of, that was a complete failure. And then the super block development from RFP in 2003 until 2013 or 2015, depending on if you count the end of it when the lawsuits happened. And both of these are really large outside developers, one from LA, one from New York City, who came in and I think did a lot of damage to this area by freezing development. So the market has always been this hope, this bright spot, this democratic space, and it gets a lot of negative attention, but I've walked by it for 10 years and people are mostly positive. So I hope it continues to grow that and spread that out. And I hope that developers can continue to listen to people on the ground and not do exploitative and extractive kind of things that they've historically done in the west side of downtown Baltimore. So I have hopes to see you all again in the market in the future soon.
Robert Thomas, let me turn next to you. You've heard everyone's hopes, you've heard everyone's concerns. You walk a tightrope every day between the idea, you said something I won't forget when we had our conversation about the market being a business, not a museum. You have to make sure this place stays financially solvent as you look to the future. And obviously, there is the question of the history of the market, what will remain, what will change. Tell me about your thoughts at this moment of change.
I can echo some of the things that have been said about greatest concern, the developmental context and the human context around the market, as well as just the physical environment, is part of my greatest worry, so that we aren't a castle on a hill with a big moat that essentially is Utah Street. But the other thing that concerns me, I guess, is things that we, by the time we get to the new structure, things that we might have missed in the speed of adjustment and adaptability. Contrasting with that, though, the things that I am hopeful for, in addition to solving those things, is that it would be an operational and popular success.
Thibaut Mannequin, let me turn ultimately to you before we wrap up here. You are the man who's got these hopes and these fears on your shoulders. You've made the promise, you've got the RFP, now the shovels are in the ground and the changes are underway. Talk about what you've heard from the other folks on this panel, the hopes that they have, the concerns and fears that they have. And I know those are all things that have weighed on your mind and that you've thought about very carefully along the way.
Yeah, it's always great to get that feedback, especially from the folks that are on the ground every day in the market. I think one of the things that we're the most excited about is, look, markets are as strong as their vendors, and the people that come there, and the food industry will be significantly impacted as a result of Corona. You're going to see a tremendous amount of restaurants that have opened up have to shut down. Lexington Market is primed to kind of help supportively pick up the pieces and create soft landing for startup and existing food businesses from around the city. It's going to be the lowest barrier of entry to come in and try to get a business off of the ground, the lowest amount of capital to get in, hopefully the most opportunity to get in front of as many people as possible. And we're really excited about that side of it. Certainly the existing vendors that are in the current East Market building that have been there for generations, finding them a new home in the existing buildings, those that are interested in staying. And as we heard, recruiting new talent from all over the city, with a real emphasis on making sure that the vendors represent the diversity of Baltimore City, which isn't the case today. So we're, really, really excited to see all that come into play.
I want to say thank you to all of you guys for being here and virtually. I miss you guys. I miss seeing everybody in person. I'll tell you, Facebook Live viewers, that what we're going to do now is we're going to stop here momentarily and get ready to switch gears. Thanks again to all of our panelists for sharing their thoughts. It's been great to reconnect with you all. I wish you the best in the weeks and months ahead. And to you, our viewers, I'll say, just hold on a quick minute now as we get ready to switch over from this kind of pre-recorded mode to a live mode where we're going to be able to take your thoughts and your questions and maybe hear some of your own stories about your experience with Lexington Market. It's going to take just a quick moment to finagle the technical logistics on our end. So as we say in the radio biz, stay tuned.
can't hear you yet. Can you guys hear me?
Aaron, you're muted.
Can you hear me, Wendel?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, I just can't hear Aaron. How are you?
I'm well. You cut your hair.
Yeah, man, it was an ultimatum from my wife. He said I was starting to look like the guy from Dumb and Dumber, and I needed to cut it.
Aaron, do you see the little icon down at the bottom left next to your picture on your screen? If you just hover over.
My mic is muted, it says.
Nope, I can hear you now.
Oh, you can hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah? Oh, okay. Hey, I was just talking to myself for a while. Yeah. So good to see you guys. So here we are. We're in real time now on Facebook Live. Yes, you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I told you guys there was a 50-50 chance that I would be wearing the same T-shirt as I was when we were in the pre-recorded. But how's that for continuity? Pretty good. All right. So here we are. I'm Aaron. I'm here with T-Bo Mannequin from Seawall Development. And welcome to the conversation, Wendel Patrick, my co-producer, partner in crime on Out of the Blocks. So far this evening on the BMA's Violet Hour, you've been watching along. You've gotten a chance to experience some audio excerpts and some of Wendel's photos from our episodes of Baltimore's Lexington Market, which were recorded way back in early 2020. And then after those excerpts, you just saw a roundtable with vendors and other folks who've got interesting histories with the market. And now, Facebook Live viewers, it's your turn. Maybe you've got questions of your own about the status of the market right now. Maybe you're wondering what's going to happen next there, how things are going to change, when they're going to change. Maybe you've got a favorite story or a favorite memory that you want to share about your own history with the market and what it means to you. We're all ears. You can interact with us on the text feature on your Facebook Live. We'll see that in real time. Maybe you're curious about Out of the Blocks and how and why Wendel and I do what we do with this project. You can text in. We'll get your questions here. And let me start actually by just turning it over to Wendel for a minute. Wendel, you live right near the market. You've got it's been part of your life for as long as you've been living over at your spot. Talk about your history with the market. Your how much of the market is a part of the fabric of your life, and sort of what it was like for you to go from neighborhood customer to a documentarian when we went in there and really got to know the people behind the counters at the market.
Yeah. Well, thanks. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in person in a while.
I know, right?
And so, yeah, I live just a couple of blocks north. I actually live on Utah Street. So Lexington Market is right down the street from me. I've been here since 2012. And then before that, I actually lived in this building from 2001 to 2005. So Lexington Market has been, a real fixture in my life. In the sense that a lot of places are for a lot of people. And what I mean by that is, it's very close to me. I would go there sometimes, and there would be long periods of time where I wouldn't necessarily go. And I think, like a lot of people, you take places like that have been there for seemingly forever for granted. And the sort of the last few months, especially going in there and working on this project, it gave me an opportunity to either have conversations myself if I was taking pictures with some of the proprietors and vendors there that I'd seen for years but had never spoken to, or to listen as you were interviewing them, and again just to sort of feel and participate in that human element that is sometimes lost when you go into an establishment and you go there to buy food or to buy a Raven shirt. And so I can only imagine for the people that have been thoroughly invested there for a long period of time, that having it closed like this you know, it's sad. I mean, when I went down there to take the photograph of the construction, I felt a little bit sad, but also hopeful that it will return in a way that's meaningful for the people that continue to work there and frequent it, and also the people that are here in the neighborhood.
And let me ask you, Wendel, to just say a little bit more about yourself and about how you and I work together on Out of the Blocks. There's a comment here from Milton who says, "Love Out of the Blocks so much. Wonderful to hear all the different perspectives about this beautiful, complicated place. The music makes it especially meaningful to me." Talk about how you and I work together to create what the people end up hearing on Out of the Blocks.
Yeah, well, thank you, Milton, for that comment. That means a lot. You know, when we make these and put them out, it's sort of like throwing something out into a vacuum, and it's always nice to hear how people, you know, respond to what we make. I feel very fortunate in having a work partner like Aaron, because he basically serves me up, you know, sort of sets me up for success, you know, every time in sort of gathering these stories and thoughts from people within the community and beyond. And for me, you know, my job in terms of the music is to create something that hopefully, you know, both supports the stories that are being told and then also interacts in a way that enhances and doesn't detract or distract. And so that's always, you know, a bit of a balancing act. But it's wonderful to be able to, you know, sort of support everything sonically and also provide that extra narrative component through music and sound. And, you know, hopefully it's mostly successful.
I got to give a plug for your photography as well. I mean, you know, what we do is a radio show and a podcast, but if you do a little Googling around, you go to WYPR.org, you find the Out of the Blocks page. Every episode has a photo album of portraits of everybody that, you know, that's featured on the episodes. And Wendel, you take all those portraits as well. You should check those out, folks, if you haven't if you've heard the show but never seen the portraits. I don't know if it's more fun to see the portraits afterwards or before, but they're there for you if you want to check them out. All right. Hey, Tebow, good to have you along with us too in this live portion of the show. And I know we get to do something here that we don't get to do on the radio, which is to share visual aids. And I know Dave is our invisible technician that's standing by, and he might have something he wants to set up while I ask you to explain just again, maybe the timeline that you're operating on now with seawall development. What's the game plan? When can folks imagine seeing a new market? How much has COVID-19 thrown a wrench into your works? Talk to us about where you are in your progress so far.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron and Wendel, for the amazing coverage throughout Out of the Blocks, and it's great to be able to sit here and have this conversation with you guys. So we've been working on this project for about 2 years, right? The first year and a half was really just kind of deep listening throughout the city of Baltimore, pulling all the pieces together that have worked really well, bringing in some new voices and some new ideas, closing financing on the whole project. And in a second, I'm going to ask Dave to hit play on this time-lapse video, which will kind of show you the progression on construction that's taken place, since probably about March, I think, is when the demolition started of what we know as the arcade building. So Dave, why don't you roll that, and then we can talk a little bit more about, So as you can see, this is the site on a time-lapse camera. And they're starting to empty the parking lot. You can see some tractors starting to move in, some construction equipment, and it's going to happen quick. But there's the arcade that's been taken down. So what you see on the right is the existing East Market building. I think was built in the 1950s, and the plan is to kind of keep it and have that become a phase 2. Baltimore Development Corporation and the public markets have an RFP out for a developer to kind of reimagine that space, hopefully in keeping with what's going to happen on the new site. Where you see the dirt there is the site of kind of a public pedestrian opening of the new Lexington Market. And then further off to the left where those trucks are digging that hole and those tractors, that's where the new market is going to get built. So from a construction standpoint, with COVID, we really have not been affected. Maybe lost a few weeks or a month, less having to do with COVID, more having to do with some site work issues that are always a surprise anytime you start putting a shovel in the ground. And so the timeline is still kind of projecting to have the project largely wrapped up by the end of 2021. I think that as all of the pieces come together, we're probably into early 2022 before we're actually in there shopping again. But it's very important to point out, and I think there was an article in the Business Journal today, that the East Market building has been closed since COVID, but only because of COVID. The plan is that that market is going to stay open through the life of construction. All of the vendors in there are hopefully going to continue to operate, and they're going to start to reopen in a limited fashion, and then hopefully get to full reopening at some point once everybody gets their feet back underneath them. But globally, we really haven't lost too much time, and kind of exciting to see the progress there through the time lapse. We should have this conversation at the end of the project and watch that time lapse all the way through to completion as the building's coming out of the ground.
Are you continuing to make the time lapse video?
Yep, every 30 minutes it takes a picture.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the update. I'm going to go back to some of our viewers. Andrea Boston is watching along. She says, I wouldn't be here without Constance at Lexington Market. My parents love Blossom there over hot dogs. Constance Market, Constance was a great spot, and they actually closed down and went out of business as we were making our documentary there. It's interesting, the sort of ecosystem of businesses that live and die over the course of time at the market. I have a question here. Let me see here. Carolyn McKenzie James, what do you? Seawall and Lexington Inc. say they want to preserve Lexington Market as a Black institution in Baltimore. How can we preserve the community fabric and truly democratic space of Baltimore while also meeting the bottom line financially? It's the text goes on, but let me just give you a chance, Thibaut, to speak to that, to speak to the history of the market as a Black space, and sort of the tightrope that you're walking between financial solvency, looking to the future, redeveloping and preserving history and heritage.
Yeah, Carolyn, it's a great question, and we talked about having been throughout Baltimore for the last 1.5 years, 2 years, doing a lot of deep listening. The number one thing we continue to hear is that the vendors in the market need to represent the beautiful diversity of Baltimore City, and today that is not the case. Less than 5% of the vendors in the market today are African American owned, and the demographics of the vendors don't represent the diversity of the city. And that has been loud and clear in all of the community association meetings that we've been to throughout the city. So we have set up a very inclusive vendor application process where we're supposed to launch that in March. That is one thing that got stalled there, and as a result of COVID, is not being able to launch the vendor application process. It's teed up to be launched sometime in, I think, end of August, early September. And we've partnered with Baltimore Core and Innovation Works to really get as far and wide throughout the city of Baltimore, letting vendors and small businesses and food operations know that there's a terrific opportunity to apply to open up a business within the market. And we're in the process of putting together the selection process for how the vendors will be selected. I want to be very clear, like, This isn't the Seawall Development does not own this property. We are not the ones that make the decision on who the vendors get to be, but we're honored to be a part of setting up the systems and the infrastructure to make sure that the vendors get vetted through like a really fair process, and that, you know, with the ultimate goal that the new Lexington Market really does represent the diversity of our beautiful city.
I got a question here about that says it seems like several of the panelists in our previous panel discussion were immigrants. Can someone speak to the importance of Lexington Market to the immigrant population? I so wish that Dr. Nicole King was still here. She speaks really in a very informed way on this. I'll do my best, and you guys can help me out if you feel like I'm missing here. But what I learned from talking to people at the market is that you can trace like the history of different waves of immigration from different countries to this country over, it corresponds with the waves of people that own stalls at Lexington Market. Like back in the old days of Lexington Market, it was a lot more Italian and Polish vendors. And then like you get to the 70s, and there was a lot of Greek vendors. And then, you know, you've got like Ana Alvarado's story, and there's more Latino vendors. And then, of course, there's a huge contingent of Korean vendors at Lexington Market as well. And if you listen to the stories in our episodes, you'll hear those immigrants talking about how they sort of fall into the business because it's like the family business. And when you're like the new guy or gal that comes over and gets off the plane, like I think Josh Cho said, it depends who picks you up at the airport. That's what business you're going to end up working in. And so there's a beautiful, rich history, and you can actually, it's like layers of sedimentary rock in geology. You can go back and see different waves of immigration by looking at who ran the market stalls in different decades. And the market's been there for hundreds of years now. So there's a lot of history to plumb. I don't know if I did justice to that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, you and I have been at this, making this program for about 8 years now. And I don't know if you remember this, but we actually first thought about doing Lexington Market about 6 years ago when we were, sort of finding our footing. And at the time, the idea of doing Lexington Market just seemed so daunting because we'd only done a couple of blocks at that point. And I think the following year, we decided to do Northeast Market because it seemed like it was a little bit more manageable.
Which is on the 2100 block of Monument Street, yeah.
Yep, and I remember, I'd been in there a few times, but not as much as Lexington Market. And I remember being struck by the diversity of the immigrant population there as well. If you recall, there was a woman that we met there who was from Trinidad, and which is where I'm from originally. And when we did Lexington Market a few months ago, she was over in Lexington Market now. This is a few years later, the same woman from Trinidad. And so it is definitely, a wonderful, sort of example or hotspot of immigrant representation in the city, and hopefully it will remain that way.
All right, we're coming up on the end of our time here. I'm not going to hold us too far over. There's one more question that I'll answer before we wrap up. Mandy says, I just got on. Will this be available to view later? Yes. Mandy, Baltimore Museum of Art says the video is going to be saved to their Facebook page and also archived on YouTube. So if you joined us late or if you feel like it just, there's something you missed, it's on there for posterity up here on the internet. All right, so we're going to get ready to wrap up. I want to say a big thanks to Dave and Malika and the rest of the crew at the BMA for having us on, the Violet Hour for all the effort and talent they put into pulling off this digital feat of coordination. Keep an eye out for the next BMA Violet Hour. It's happening on Wednesday, July 29th. It's going to be with the poet Mecca Verdell, who's going to be speaking about her work and the importance of creation in social movements. That's Wednesday, July 29th. Want to say thanks to all the panelists that you got to hear from this hour. Thank you, Tebow, for being with us. Tebow Mannequin from Seawall. I want to thank my co-producer, Wendel Patrick. You can always find Out of the Blocks on, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're pretty much wherever you get your podcasts. And, one more big thank you to you, everyone who tuned in this hour. And I guess you don't tune into Facebook. That's Radio Talk. Who clicked onto Facebook or scrolled past us and spent a little bit of time with us. This has been really cool to interact with you in this format and in real time. And with that, I'll say, thanks for being with us. Be well and good night.